De'an Matuka.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me. Really appreciate you giving me your time so that we can chew the fat and get into some juicy topics today. Yeah, it's great to have you on, and I really appreciate it. And we've met recently in Algarve, where we're now both residents.
Yeah.
We've had some great conversations already, and I thought you'd be really good to chat to in the podcast.
Thank you.
This is the first one I've done in a couple of months. Had a little bit of time off, and it disappeared from online for a little bit, and I enjoyed the time away from social media, which can get a little bit all consuming. So this is good to be back in the hot chair with you. You're in the hot chair. So I just thought we'd have a wide ranging conversation about a number of topics today. One of the things we discussed when we were having coffee in Lagos recently was your trip to Bosnia, the Bosnian Pyramids, which I kind of knew about. And it was a thing in my consciousness, but I didn't really know any detail about it. I knew there was kind of a discovery of a Bosnian pyramid, and it kind of resonated with me because that was one of the things that got me into this journey, if you like. One of the early things that got me into this journey was Graham Hancock's Fingerprints of the Gods. And it was an amazing book, and it was an amazing introduction to this idea that our history, our human history, our origins could actually be a lot older than we are told with modern education system and stuff like that. And, Hancock talks about it being at least 10,000 years BC. Then you had guys who predated Hancock, like Eric von Daniken, which my dad told me about. So that has always been part of my interest, and it's great to see that finally the normies are catching up by Hancock getting a show on Netflix, which became the most watched show, I believe, in 2023, talking about hidden histories. And it was great to chat with you about the Bosnian Pyramids. So tell us a little bit about that trip, about the Bosnian Pyramids, and what that experience was like.
I've been there a few times. How much do I have? 5 minutes, half an hour?
You just hit me with what you've got. Yeah.
So basically, first of all, Bosnia is like middle of nowhere. It's like little villages, towns, whatever, mountain. And then there is pyramid. Come on. It's fake. So I was skeptic, until I went there. And so from the distance, you see it, you're kind of driving to it from Sarajevo, and you see this hill. It's not a mountain, it's a hill, big hill, 400 meters, something like that. And town is called Visoko, where thing is. It kind of grew up on the pyramid. So people started building houses by the river, and then as the town spread, it kind of caught up to the hill and then started building up and up and up. And so now you have a fifth or something of the town is actually on the pyramid. Weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
The pyramid itself, they call it Pyramid of the Sun. It's 4 times bigger than the Cheops pyramid in the Giza in Egypt. Massive. But it's fully covered with trees. It's like a forest. Except when you come, you can drive and walk to the corner of it. And so you're watching it, and you can actually see a sharp line, the treetops. They kind of align to, and that's odd. So then I started thinking, okay, maybe that's my skepticism was kind of getting a little bit softer. It's strange to see that alignment, straight line all the way up. And then, so what they did basically at the end of the war, I think it was NATO or someone was looking with a ground penetrating radar for ammunition magazines, because they had to clear and confiscate basic war. So they had to clear out the ammunition. And so they went to Bosnian army with imagery, and they said, hey guys, what's this? Caverns and stuff. They was no, not ours. Okay, went to Serbians, hey guys, what's this? Not ours. Went to Croatians, not ours. So what is it? And so what it was is they actually uncovered the tunnels, which are not touching the pyramid. They're a couple of kilometers away, the first entrance to it. They haven't uncovered everything. That was 20 whatever years ago. So up until now, they kind of little by little, volunteers are coming from Europe, actually world, and helping, giving hands to, this is cubic tons and hundreds of tons of material to actually unearth and to.
I've seen videos of the tunnels, and this is a real thing. This is a huge network of tunnels that have walls on the side that go for kilometers, I believe.
What they did so far, they're not straight. Mm-hmm. So what they did so far, they kind of It's kind of like this. It looks like little rivers, and like there's a loop. Basically, it's not straight line, but what is fascinating, and I only recently actually clocked on to potentially why. So the story goes, somebody created tunnels, God knows when, and then somebody filled them up to the brim from the beginning, from the inside all the way out to the top.
I mean, why would you do that?
Exactly. That was the question. It's like, okay, you're digging the tunnel, which is big work, but you know how much work there is to actually fill it up. I mean, that's like months of, it's just untold amount of work. So that was super, super interesting. Why did they do it?
Did you go into the tunnels when you visited? Wow.
Yeah. And the thing with tunnels is that the energy inside, you can be, and this is where my skepticism went completely, like, that's it. Like, I'm no more skeptic, I'm a believer. Because you sit in that tunnel, just breathe, nothing, just be there. And it feels like being in a microwave. Okay, I've never been in a microwave, but you know what I mean? It's like frying from the inside. Every cell in a body is like...
Well, that's a really good comparison, because what a microwave is a Faraday cage, which means that none of the electrical energy that's being transmitted by all of these frequencies and these, radars and everything doesn't penetrate. That's why if you put your phone in a microwave, it won't get any signal at all, but it's a Faraday cage. And I think that's kind of what's being created there, is like these tunnels, the electromagnetic frequencies, the EMFs aren't penetrating. So it's like clean space.
I don't know, but what they do is they measured negative ions.
Yeah.
And they went up to 50,000 or something of those things. Basically, like, they haven't measured it anywhere on Earth. There is more than that. But also what they found through experience, because this has been like 20 years or so, at least 15, let's say. So many, many years of people going in there, all sorts of diseases, all sorts of sick people, old people, whatever. And actually, there are healing benefits. So unrelated to who made it and why they covered it, what modern people are finding, they're just sitting there for like by the way, I couldn't stay there more than like 45 minutes tops.
Wow.
I have to go out. It feels like this, I couldn't take it more. So there is something there. There is useful, there is healing. We don't really know how it works, but personal experience, I love going in there and just like sitting and breathing. So that's one thing. And then the actual pyramid, the Pyramid of the Sun, what they did over the years to prove that actually it's real, because it's all private land, this is the thing, like, it's all private. So they had to get permission from whoever owns the land to go with the diggers and actually remove the trees and dig down. So they removed maybe an area of, let's say, 50 by 100 meters soil, trees and soil. Top, concrete, not stone. Concrete slabs about 4.5 meters long, about maybe 1.5 meters by 1.5 meters. Stacked 3 or 4 deep. Toof.
Well, they've measured that concrete as well.
Yes,
and it was concrete is measured by how dense it is or how strong it is. Yeah. And they measured this concrete, and it was like 10 times stronger than the concrete we have today.
And the carbon dating, guess what? 28,000 to 30,000 years.
Wow.
In Bosnia, like, there's nothing there. I mean, bears and grizzlies and whatnot, it's like nothing. So skepticism was going down fast by seeing this. I couldn't explain it. I still can't. But concrete, if it was a rock, I would still be skeptical. Think like, okay, maybe like nature, maybe.
Is it possible that nature has made this concrete through, the process of geology?
You have to see it. It's like straight blocks. 4.5 meters long, 1.5 meters by 1.5 meters straight, like block by block, like you can see, like.
So it looks man-made. That doesn't look like.
It is man-made. It doesn't look. It is.
It is,
and it's stuck. Like, it's basically it's man-made. It's odd. It's odd.
Wouldn't be the first time that a pyramid has been excavated from being covered in trees and foliage in Mexico. The Tijuana, the big famous pyramid in Mexico, was literally a mounded hill.
Yeah.
There's photographs of it as a mounded hill, and they dug it out and they discovered this incredible pyramid inside.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be the first time. It's not an unusual thing. The only unusual thing, I guess, is like what you said, it's in Bosnia in the middle of nowhere, and it predates history even more than what, Graham Hancock is doing, and it's pointing at Europe.
Basically, it's like they did 3 independent labs in Europe, 3 different countries, coming with the same result. 28 to 30,000 years old. So this kind of breaks the whole traditional 5,000, 6,000 year BC pyramid theory completely out of the water, blows it out. That's like out. And then so what this thing with covering it up, do you know Göbekli Tepe in Turkey?
Yeah.
So they also found that the whole thing was covered with earth. And again, they were thinking, like, why would somebody
cover it up?
Yeah.
But isn't it also the idea that maybe the flood is what covered it?
No.
Okay.
No. They were protecting it from the flood.
Okay.
And the same with the tunnels, because the only way to protect stuff so it doesn't get broken or whatever, like washed away, is to cover it, to make, so we don't know whether it's true, but this is the only theory they have so far that would potentially explain all this effort of covering this up, man. This is like,
because in the Bosnian tunnels where they filled it up, they haven't just, because some people would counter by saying, well, the flood brought all of the material back in, because how they've proved it impossible as well is that at the end of each tunnel, there's like a seal. They've like put a little bit of a walls, to keep in the material that they filled up.
To see it, and you don't have to be an engineer. You just have to a little bit of a kind of rationality and common sense. It is physically impossible for that to be filled in the way it's done, because what they did now when they're uncovering it, digging it out, so they dug out whatever they did, but then on the side of what they dug out is other tunnel, and they kind of started digging it out, so you can see literally hundreds of those things.
Are these tunnels underneath the pyramids, or are they off?
No, a couple of kilometers.
Oh, wow.
At least one entrance that they found is a couple of kilometers away. So they started, when you look at it on a map, pyramid is here, one pyramid is 4. One pyramid is here, and so the tunnel is about here, and they started kind of going, there's ton of work to do. But what I wanted to say is basically when you see those side tunnels that are still filled up, that to the brim, man, there is no way that because they're so like higgledy-piggledy, left, right, hundreds and hundreds of meters, and there are no rivers, like it's just ridiculous idea. Like this.
How would you do it?
No,
that's what I'm saying. How would they even fill? Never mind digging them in the first place. How would they fill them? It's just nuts.
Incredible.
There's another element to the whole Bosnian pyramid mystery that I find really intriguing, is that stone they found with the runes carved into them, which is like this message that they've translated as saying, we are waiting for the cosmic gate to reopen. Like whoever wrote them is talking about some cosmic gate, I
don't know what it means. I don't even know whether it's true what they translated, because I don't know. But what I do know is they're there. And so this thing was also covered with stuff, and it was there for like God knows how long. So something is there. It has healing properties. I feel very good when I'm in there. So I think thumbs up. Go and check it.
I'd love to go. Yeah, I'd love to go to the Balkans. I'd love to go to Croatia, and definitely if I'm in Croatia, I'm going to go and visit the Bosnian pyramids. I've been to Montenegro. That was a beautiful place. Gorgeous place.
Yeah.
Tivat and Budvar. Yeah, I mean, really, really gorgeous scenery. There's not much going on inland in Montenegro. It's just all about the coast. But yeah, it was gorgeous. But I'd love to go back, visit the Bosnian pyramids. Speculating, what do you think the Bosnian pyramids represent? Who do you think built it?
I have no idea. But basically, if I did a little bit of kind of uncovering and studying all this stuff around the world, and it all seems to be similar age. And it all seems to be networked around the globe. So I think they're just part and parcel of the same crew, the same time, the same purpose, global network of whatever, but it's definitely there.
Because like we just touched on briefly before in the intro, which is these ideas are now seeping into the public consciousness. Graham Hancock being at the tip of the spear. He's probably the most recognizable face with this whole hidden history of mankind. I'd say largely because he's been on Joe Rogan so many times, and he's been, on that show.
Hammering it for decades.
Decades, but it seems as if, because he's faced some criticism. I mean, in the UK, the whole state propaganda arm of the BBC, they've been at Graham Hancock for 15 years, and they've just been constantly attacking his reputation. So it was a surprise that an establishment outlet like Netflix agreed to give him this flagship documentary, which millions of people have seen, and all of the normies that are out there watched it and loved it, and have been introduced to these, spectacular ideas that human history is a lot older than we are educated to. And that because that would change the face of our understanding of our origins.
So it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but I'm also not stupid. And whatever they're feeding us in the school is just nonsense. It just doesn't make sense. It's just literally like, I'll just look at it and thinking like, just how?
But you have to ask, don't you, why do they hold back that truth? Why did they hold back that?
Very, very good question. This is something, and, they call it a Kabbalah, they call it whatever, I don't know who they are, but like hidden powers that be, they seem to govern the whole world. This is now coming more and more on Gaia TV also. They do a lot of stuff around that. So I think we are very close to, at least I hope, very close to uncovering who, what, and why. But it's definitely agenda because it's too organized, too kind of hush-hush. I mean, we can see like in our lifetime, both of us are Freeman on the land from the UK Times. Both of us did years of study of identity, of hidden agendas, of law, of our rights. And we can see that basically globally, there is a massive effort of those powers that be, whoever they are, to diminish our individual power, to keep us small, to keep us misinformed, to keep us confused, to keep us in fear. I mean, Corona was another great example. I mean, can I swear here? Fucking show. I mean, this is unbelievable. Like, it got me angry to the bone, and people are still buying. But the point is, there's definitely an agenda, it's definitely global, it's definitely highly, highly organized, and military precision, the way this is executed.
I think Corona proved beyond any doubt that there is a high-level organization.
I hope so. I mean, for me, there was no doubt from first moment, but I'm talking about the general public.
Yeah.
But many of those also are now beginning not to trust the governments, and that's amazing to see. They actually, I mean, governments are good in some way, but not the way they are run at the moment. And it's also good to see that all of the governments around the globe, all the different countries, they shouldn't actually agree. Like, for example, China, America, Russia, they should not agree. And yet they did. They would kind of, the same narrative, when you listen to news, which I don't do, but sometimes, they all use the same words, the same phrases again and again and again. It's like brainwashing, organized brainwashing.
But for them to use the same words, it means that those words have to be delivered.
Absolutely.
Right? They have to be given out as a memo globally and disseminated through all of these organizations.
Not
and you can't deny it.
Demanded.
Yeah.
That you have to say
Build back better. There's all of the top leaders in the world, but all saying it in unison. Who's giving the memo?
I mean, you really, by now, I'm really sorry for the listeners who are like fully straight-laced, but you really have to be an absolute idiot to still believe it. Like, I don't think any person in their right mind can look at whatever happened over the last, let's say, 5 years and still believe the government. It's like, oh, shit. No, but it really is beyond
totally,
bullshit.
I know.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I'm hoping that over the next few years, there's going to be more and more, I don't know, like whistleblowers and stuff changing and people deciding like enough is enough. Like, we just actually need to speak out and do like what we do here, like just more and more demanding, screaming to the politicians, like, if you keep on doing this, you're not going to be fucking elected again. So think again, like your time is up. You have few years. If you want to be in this business more than a few years, you're going to need to actually choose a side because this side stinks. But they're afraid. They're manipulated. They're afraid. They're probably bribed for sure. They're also threatened for sure. But like, this has to stop. So I'm really super happy to be here. Thank you for giving me opportunity and to banter this kind of stuff because it has to be aired, even though we are not the experts. But we both have similar heart and we understand that this stinks as fuck, and it has to be uncovered. So more the better, really.
Yeah, well, I think that's another thing that COVID kind of exposes, that we can't trust the experts. The experts are the ones that were lying to us. So maybe, this is the age where that kind of opinion is not as valuable as people just figuring it out for themselves.
This is exactly the thing. And when they're talking about like all the disclosures of all these kind of secret projects, black projects, let's not go into aliens. I mean, there's going to be another conversation.
Maybe that's another podcast we can revisit. Well,
but basically what seems to be happening is like even the job log average is beginning to cotton on to the fact that there is something going on, that it just doesn't add up with the mainstream media, with the government, with the laws, with legislations. It's just like, if I look at the globe right now, it's going back to Hitler. The whole thing is becoming fascist.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's 21st century, man, what's going on?
Mm.
And yet it seems to be a lot of France, Germany, America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. I mean, during the COVID, they literally became like a fascist fucking state.
Mm.
Like this is...
They went gung ho. There was no hiding.
Still do.
What shows you is that beneath the surface, you know, when they need to bare their fangs and show their claws, is that they've got no problem doing it, which is what they did during COVID. They exposed, you know, their ruthless authoritarianism.
And thank them for that, because now even the Joe Blog
seen it
can actually not really deny it anymore. For us, it's been clear for forever. But it's only...
But they don't want you to see that. They want you to believe this democratic idea.
Yeah, but it's too late.
Too late. I know.
This is basically like a puppet show. You know, it's like puppet show come Muppet show. It's like it's so blatant, and it's so almost like a reality TV show in politics. I mean, let's. Subject,
but this is the subject. This is the only subject. But you know, you're a man who is from Croatia, spent 25 years in the UK, but you know, I guess you're old enough to have experienced the conflict in Croatia, but Yugoslavia, and you know, that's a really interesting area of study for me. It's that part of the world. There's not much is known about it in the West, and the Yugoslavian Wars was quite a very serious event for people who lived there. And you know, I was looking a little bit into it, and the idea of Tito. You know, and Tito was the head of Yugoslavia, and he understood that there were many ethnic conflicts within that region, and somehow he was able to hold it all together. And you know, he was one of the most successful communist Soviet leaders, and Yugoslavia was actually, you know,
I wouldn't time up with the Soviet.
Okay, maybe that's. I don't really know much about him, but what I know is that he was able to keep all of those conflicting people and conflicting ethnicities together and unified, and then unfortunately he was unable to pick a successor, and when he died, all of that kind of cohesion just fell apart.
He had to fall apart.
So tell me about, because what happened after that is quite a dark period in the Balkan history. Is, you know, a lot of loss of life and conflict over territory and ethnic struggles. What was your, you know, experience of that, being from Croatia and I guess being there when it happened?
Tito, somehow, I mean, it was tough. He was basically not a tyrant, but maybe, you know, let's look at it from Second World War. Second World War finished. The whole Europe is in
pieces.
Totally in pieces. I mean, like hundreds of millions of displaced people. Literally, the whole ethnographics are changing. Demographics are like shifting. Everything is changing. So in that kind of climate, he arises as a leader who says no to the West, no to the East. So no America, no Russia. He basically openly said, if you cross the border, we go to another war, like fuck off. And that was the first third world country in the world. So that was like, well done. There was a lot of darkness. A lot of people died. Basically, partisans, when they won, they were...
Is this under Tito? Yeah.
Yeah. They were exterminating anybody who was against the regime. So, but having said that, Yugoslavia, as far as I know, is the only country that you had ethnicities mixing. So you had like, my Croatian uncle is married to a Bosnian Serbian woman. So my grandfather, Croatian, went to Bosnia and married a Serbian woman. So Muslim would marry Catholic, Protestant would marry Catholic, would marry Muslim.
In Yugoslavia, yeah.
So this was like no other country on the planet that I know. And although it was, at the beginning, it was really forcefully enforced, but actually for the 40 or so, 45 years after that, they lived in a most amazing, we lived in, okay, it wasn't perfect, but in terms of ethnicity, in terms of creating, at least creating a possibility that we could live as a united, almost a United Nations, but actually it is. It's actually...
It was an EU, it was like a version of the EU to some degree, wasn't it? It was
like
a collection of different nations.
Republics, 3 different religions, and God knows how many languages, all in one country. That's amazing. That from that perspective, that was amazing. So it wasn't sustainable because economically nobody worked, man. Yugoslavia was a socialist country with a communist government. And there was a joke. Basically, we were saying Yugoslavia is the richest country in the world because everybody is stealing for 40 years and we still have plenty. Nobody worked, man. There was no work ethics. There was no understanding of, like, when I left, I was 23. So up until that point, I had no education in actually work ethics of how to take care of myself financially, because I didn't have to. The system was taking care of me. So that didn't work, you know. But it had to fall.
Do you remember? Have you got, like, you know, strong memories of living under the communist regime?
I was 23, man.
Yeah.
Of course I do.
Yeah.
Of course I do. It was amazing. I mean, for me, it was amazing because I was young.
Yeah.
Maybe if I was older. Okay, so truth be told, me being me, I would end up in a cons camp, or definitely in a prison for being who I am today. Totally against the system, totally being like a free man on the land. Under Yugoslavia, Tito, you go to prison immediately. So that I wouldn't survive, or maybe would survive going to prison. So it wouldn't work. But as a up to 23-year-old kid, I had free education, free hospital. Everybody had it. You had a job for life. You can never be. Everybody had a home. Everybody had a second home, like a holiday home.
Well, it seems like there's no need to rebel in that situation.
No, but yes and no, because like human spirit is. Of course we want to rebel. Of course we want to change. Of course we want to, like, for example, the restriction was if you wanted to start a business, you can employ maximum 5 people. And so that's like in communist system that doesn't work. But over there, it was kind of enforced and it kept a lid on it. But somehow on the surface, it worked, because why do I need more than 5 people working for me? Like, I have everything I need. I have a house. I have a free this, free that. I have a holiday home on the most beautiful island in Adriatics. Like, why?
What else do I need?
Basically, kind of, you know, it was also a prison of sorts, as I said, but comparing it to capitalism that happened after the war, basically what happened was the war happened, 4 or 5 years of absolute chaos. Capitalism was born, a religion was born in a most disgusting way. So Catholic Church went from, during the Yugoslavia, because it was socialist communist, it was allowed, but it wasn't encouraged. So some people went to church, but it was like all biddies and nobody basically went to church. Come war, literally in 4, 5, 6, 7 years, suddenly everybody goes to church. Churches are full like this, and church is in the government. So politically, it kind of infiltrated the system to the point that right now it's almost like sad to see what's going on. You have like the worst possible capitalism. Like, you see, the thing is like neo-capitalism to compare to, for example, British capitalism, which is super old. In England, the saying says it takes 50 years to develop. When the country is formed, it takes about 50 years for people to actually learn how to govern themselves, for everything to actually settle in place, governments, offices, everything. Comparing, so Croatia, because it's a new country, it was like the worst, the most selfish capitalism you can ever see. Like
the end of the Soviet Union and Russia, when you had all of the oligarchs stealing everything until it was able to restabilize.
Exactly like that. Exactly like. So during the war, you had a Tudjman, which was like a Hitler. He basically got us into war. Tudjman, Franjo Tudjman. He was a president-elect, and it took 3 months. This was March until summer 91. So within 3 months, the country went from complete peace, people that I grew up with, that I knew since I was 5 years old, and I thought they were decent human beings, changed from that into fucking psychopaths, like, give me the gun and let's go kill. So that was the first time in my life where the image of this fair world got shattered completely inside of dog. But that was my like big fuck
wake-up call.
Massive one. So it was time for me, you know. So because I was so against Tudjman and his... Anyway, so what I was going to say, I'm going to come back to this later. During the war, because it was so oligarch and cliquey and who you know rather than what you know, they were buying factories for $1. Like the whole, everything sold to a best friend or to a family member for literally like $1 Deutschmark. And then sell all the equipment inside, make money for yourself, and fuck the rest. So this happened with every single previously government-owned factory. Everything was government-owned. So all the industry that was pumping before the war, after the war, was just gone. So Croatia was basically left with nothing because of this oligarchy. I mean, it was horrible. It was really sad to see it happening and unstoppable because in a war, profiteering happens. Hundreds of thousands of people died. So much fear, so much. Under those kind of conditions, you cannot think rationally. People didn't. I didn't. Nobody did. So shit can happen that normally would never be able to allow to happen, like this kind of selling of the stuff and war profiteering. And so then after the war, you ended up with like a truck driver. Before the war was the most rich person in Croatia. After the war, how the fuck? One way. So that kind of happened. And it just killed the spirit of what was unified, like this spirit of
with the Yugoslavia. Yeah.
Became like the most selfish. Like before, there was so much social life. Like people would be sitting on corners of the streets and chatting, and so socially we were very, very active. After the war, zilch, gone. Super selfish, everybody for themselves. Like the worst possible capitalism, me, greedy, nasty. So
where does it? Because I mean, the war itself is like it's a really interesting narrative in itself, and how it started, and how it developed. Because you had Slovenia broke off first, didn't you? And then Croatia went with them.
17 days of war.
Yeah, 17 days of war in there, and then Serbia trying to regain it, and then you had the Yugoslavian army, which was basically the Serbian army,
which we didn't know.
Which you didn't know, yeah.
We did, but it just.
But it was Serbia's attempt to keep Yugoslavia together as this union, but without Tito, it was like
Look,
yeah.
So 6 republics.
Yeah.
Croatia, maybe because it was physically central to Yugoslavia, and because it has the biggest coast, and because somehow maybe the Croatian mentality is kind of between. So you have the Slovenia, which is closest to Germanic, Austria, Italy. So historically, they are more Germanic than Slavic.
Yeah.
So they're working, the organized. And then on the other side, you have like Montenegro, Macedonia, Bosnia.
More towards
Serbia,
Albania, either
totally
Turkish.
Balkan, like gung ho, like crazy, goes out, like proud people. Yeah. But not a working class. They're basically like, not peasants, but you know what I mean? Like different fire.
Totally.
Organized.
Yeah.
Anyway, Croatia, because it happened to be, I think, because it was like in the middle of all of that, through the Yugoslavian time, happened to develop most or 70-80% of income was generated in Croatia through through tourism and through industry.
You find that a lot with when countries want to secede, when they want to secede from a union that they're in to go and go alone and stand alone as their own nation. It's usually because they're generating most of the income within that union, and they're like, maybe this isn't going our way. Because I was looking at Barcelona. They're trying to secede as a Catalan nation. And one of their main arguments is like, look, we generate most of the income here, right, for the rest of Spain. And, the money we're generating is being distributed to poorest parts of Spain. Well, why should that happen kind of thing,
It was the same.
It was the same.
Basically, like every war, at the end of the day, is just about.
Why are we funding Macedonia? Was it a little bit like that?
It was, honestly, I was a little bit too young to fully understand the picture, but to the best of looking in retrospect and what I could understand then, was that basically Croatia, Tudjman, he was tortured. He was a Tito's general, one of his Tito's generals in his past. And then for his...
Because Tito was Croatian, wasn't he? He was...
Actually, yeah, he was.
Yeah, but he was the head of the,
It doesn't matter, but basically it was... Point is, Tudjman was one of his generals, and for his nationalistic Croatian views was imprisoned and tortured.
Right.
So you could see his lip was kind of having a tick.
Wow.
So basically that kind of person, the amount of trauma, I work with people, so it doesn't matter. So basically the amount of trauma, the amount of hate he had towards the whole Yugoslavia must have been, so he becomes the leader. Oh fuck. First thing he's going to do is going to take a Croatian flag, start, Croatia, big Croatia. Of course, Serbians are going to look at it and think, hang on a second. So if they leave, 70% of our money is gone. So we're not going to allow it. And this is what happened. Chuf. And so it was just basically, but it was manipulated. It was so, this was the first time where I actually realized in real life the power of advertising. In those 3 months between spring and summer of 91, the propaganda, you have tabloid papers, Serbian and Croatian, you would have the same picture, the same text, except he says Serbia, he says Croatia. And within 3 months, war, toof. It was completely manipulated, fabricated, and fake. there was no reason to go into war. So, which became clear to me because I left on the very first day. In fact, they called me up to go and fight the very first day it started in the 31st of August, 91. They delivered a paper, collar paper back home to my house. Luckily, I wasn't at home. I called my mom to say, hey, mom, when's the lunch? She said, don't come back. They gave you a collar paper. You need to leave the country. So half an hour later, I was in Slovenia, and then I went to UK and never came back. So because I was removed from the ground, I wasn't under the influence of immediate kind of pressure, I could kind of see meta perspective and see the tabloids and see what was going on. It was just,
but the destruction, you know, the loss of life and the destruction of that region was quite extensive, you know, with the siege of Sarajevo, which a lot of us in the West will remember. It was the longest siege in modern history. It was longer than the siege of Leningrad. It was 4 years long, the siege of Sarajevo.
My granddad was actually caught up in Sarajevo. He went from Croatia to Sarajevo many, many decades ago, and then he lived with his new Serbian wife there for decades. So they lived in Sarajevo. As it happened, they had a little patch of land, like a elopement on one of the hills above Sarajevo. So one day he went up there to attend his garden, and that day Serbians occupied that hill. And so he was there for 2.5 years, couldn't come down. He was Croatian.
Wow.
And so what happened to him, basically, he was 70 odd when this happened. So for 2.5 years, he was basically every day, he was telling me afterwards that Serbian soldiers will kind of be bored. This is like 2.5 years. And he has to walk around, and luckily the neighbors gave him some food, and he managed to survive. He lost all of his teeth.
This is your granddad?
Yeah.
Wow.
He lost all of his teeth because of the, what was it called? The scabies, you know, the lack of vitamin C.
Yeah, scurvy.
So, yeah. Oh. So, but he survived. And in Sarajevo, his wife stayed in Sarajevo, and there was fuck. No windows, because of all the explosions, everything shattered. Bosnian winter, man, this is like -20, like super, super hard. No gas, no electricity, no water, like fuck. So they actually managed to survive. But Sarajevo was really, it was just one, it became public, but the whole Bosnia was fucked. Unfortunately, Croatia, fortunately, had only 10% Serbian population in only some areas. And those areas were super affected. But Bosnia, man, it was about 30 Muslim, Catholic and Protestant. And they really
went at it.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
Because it's what's you know, it's also, you look at it and you can see some of the Western powers were pulling the strings because, you know, you had NATO intervene, you know, and send in, but it was the usual suspects. It was Bill Clinton, who was the president at the time, and the guy who orchestrated, the architect of the NATO bombing campaign was Joe Biden. Joe Biden was the main man who pushed Bill Clinton to bomb the Balkans. Yeah, and I think they sent.
But that was like after
400 planes.
But that was way too late.
Yeah, but didn't they create Kosovo from that, which was this like alien territory within Bosnia?
Kosovo was in Yugoslavian time. Basically, Kosovo was sub-republic of Serbia.
Yeah,
and it was mainly Albanian population that happened to live there. And then after Second World War, when the Yugoslavia was created, Kosovo was kind of became part of...
Just absorbed into Yugoslavia. Yeah.
Like you had on the Slovenian part, you had a part of Italian population became... Actually, also part of Slovenia became Italy. Part of Slovenia became Austria. Part of Austria became Slovenia. It basically the whole thing... Yeah. So Kosovo... It's a very sad and dramatic story also, because for decades, actually, there was like unrest. They didn't like... They were treated like second-class citizens from Serbians. There was a lot of undercovered hatred and tension. There was never... But that part of the land, it's full Balkan. That's like fiery, like don't fuck with me, like proud as fuck. So they really... so Kosovo was always... touchy, hot subject within Yugoslavia.
Because the Serbians still, it's still a hot topic, isn't it, for Serbians to recognize the...
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I don't follow politics, and I don't really... there's nothing I can say about that. But I know that Kosovo, even during the Yugoslavian time, every now and then in a newspaper, there would be some kind of unrest in Kosovo, So it wasn't just during the war, after the war. It was way before.
But there's something going on there for sure, because wherever NATO, sends its troops, there's some form of destabilization or color revolution that not far behind, and recently I think the British military sent in some troops into Kosovo. I think it was to do with trying to destabilize the Russian effect. But anyway, so now though, it seems as if peace is restored in the region. It seems as if they're getting on now, or is it still conflict underneath the surface?
That was also a point of interest when I went to Bosnia, to pyramids,
Because is the Bosnian Pyramids close to Sarajevo?
Half an hour, 20 minutes.
Okay.
Like 20 kilometers or something, yeah. What they're telling me from the ground is two sides. On one side, people never want a war, man. They just want to live. And this is why they managed to live 40, 50 years mixed, during the Yugoslavia. So that's one side. But the other side, there was so much shit that happened during the war that it's very difficult to forget. Really difficult. So some areas of Bosnia are contemplating war again. So it's not
against Serbia or Croatia.
No, just within themselves.
Within themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because you have in one village, you have 30% of people. And so it's not really stable. I wouldn't call it. I mean, on the surface, it looks stable. And I really hope and pray to God they stay stable. But actually, some areas...
with the right catalyst, it'll just blow. Yeah, so looking forward to visiting the Balkans. I'll take all this information that you've given me.
One thing with Bosnians, I really recommend to all the Westerners, go to Bosnia because their heart is something else. I've never felt that it's just bigger than life. Like all the shit that they had, they're really a good example of open heart. And I mean, they're amazing hosts. So
some Eastern European men initially, if you've not been to Eastern Europe before, like I went to Montenegro, and initially it's like you're having to adjust to what feels like an aggressive way of looking at you, because at home you think, is this guy squaring me up here? Are we going to be boxing anymore?
I had the same feeling in Warsaw in Poland. I was scared.
Yeah, they don't smile much to begin with. Once you've had a few drinks, right, they loosen up a little bit. But yeah, that was my initial impression of being in Montenegro. It was like, do these guys just all want to fight? Is that the way it is? But I think, like you mentioned, there's this pride, isn't there? And the men are a little bit more old-fashioned in how they express their masculinity,
Yeah,
but,
patriarchy full on.
Yeah. But I found that once you sat with them, once you talked to them, once you had a little vodka with them, that all kind of melted away, and they were as friendly as anywhere else, but good hosts, like you said.
I mean, in Bosnia, honestly, maybe because I know the language, and they're special. Their heart is special. Even like when Yugoslavia existed as one, Bosnians were the one, and the humor. Oh, you need to speak the language to understand it. I mean, it's hilarious. So Bosnians were always the most hearty, the most fun. Like if you had a party, we had many parties. If you had Bosnians, it's always fun. Without Bosnians, it's never the same. They just know how to have fun. They know how to party. They know how to, Serbian. But basically something, but Serbians also, but you will love it anyway. Go have another podcast.
But here we are now. We're in Algarve, right? A beautiful Algarve, amazing place. And I'm learning how to be an expat. You're an expat. You've been an expat for quite a long time. You said because you're in the UK for 25 years, right? And it's a whole different way of looking at the world, I guess. And it's different in the sense that because when you're at home, it's like you make less effort with people because you've kind of built your friendships, you've got your relationships. And in England as well, it's an indoor culture because of the weather's so shit. But I feel as if, when you're an expat, you make a little bit more effort to meet new people and get out and stuff. And I'm really enjoying it, right? And really enjoying living in Algarve. It's a great experience. And what's your taste of being in Southwest Portugal like?
It's getting better and better, honestly. Like initially when I came here last year, I was a little bit like snobby and thinking like, oh gosh, like, come on, I lived in London. But the more I was there, really kind of melted me more and more.
Yeah.
So the experience is I have everything. Also, the other thing is because of this rebellious nature that I have and lack of love for the big brother and the whole fucking bullshit that comes with it, many similar like you
I've ended up here.
ended up in Portugal because it's Southwest, because it's really supportive to our understanding of life. You know, it's still like Big Brother is very small.
Very small.
Yeah.
But see, that's when I was during COVID, and I was thinking, right, I don't want to be in this place. If this is what they're going to impose upon us, and if this is the technological, in the UK, right, and if this is the technological prison that they're threatening to impose upon us, and all of these things that Big Brother was really revealing himself, he's receded somewhat now after that whole period was over. But I thought, no, I don't want to be under that. So we were looking for places to go. We found that Algarve was a friend of mine. I'd never ever considered Portugal. I'd never even thought about going on holiday to Portugal, right? And it never entered my consciousness really. And as I was searching for places each day, I go, where are the restrictions the least on what countries? And I put it into the British Foreign Office website, and let's see what the restrictions were and stuff. And I was getting a friend of mine, Stephen Eagles. He was sending me pictures from Villa Mora's, marina, and he's going, this is the life I've lived. And there didn't seem to be any restrictions here. And we came over on holiday and checked it out, and I thought, okay, this is quite interesting. And we traveled the whole length and breadth of Algarve from Tavira right along to, Luge. And we settled on Western Algarve because it feels as if to get to Western Algarve takes a bit more effort.
It does.
Yeah. So the people who make the efforts, have kind of filtered themselves out from the Albufeira crowds, Yeah. So when we arrived here, it felt like, okay, this seems to be like a refuge for people who are escaping, the technological Big Brother that the highly sophisticated Western countries are able to enforce. They're a fair way behind before they can impose the same system here. Yeah. So that was
there are tens of thousands of us, really.
Yeah.
Like if you go into I call it the triangle from Lagos to Algesur and down to Sagres.
Yeah.
This very last bit of
Western Europe.
Yeah, before you fall into the ocean and find America. It's tens of thousands of tipis, trucks, yurts, ruins. Germans, English, French, Scandinavian, many.
But that's what I love about it. I love it. Yeah.
But this is why I like
Western
it so
European
much.
refugees.
So much because I can live in this godforsaken, behind God's back bit of land and meet people like you.
Yeah.
That I can actually have a decent banter with. And all these other crazy people that I really love, all with the same interest, all here for the same reason, because we don't like what's going on there. So actually the life is rich. It's friends, things to do. Not to mention kiting, that's another podcast, wow.
No, we'll touch on that in a minute, I think. But good. Yeah.
Talk about kiting all day long. So basically what I'm saying is that there are many reasons why I like it here.
Yeah.
It's cosmopolitan, even though it's super small. And when you look at it on the map, you think what's this? Villages, and literally it is ruins and villages. But actually, you get under the skin down here. It's wow.
Yeah.
Some top-notch people and interesting conversations.
And the landscape, the coast, the water, the weather, it's beautiful. It's awe-inspiring.
Dramatic.
Yeah, it's dramatic. Yeah.
Coast, man,
and there's a lot of surfers here, and there's a lot of outdoor pursuits. But that's kind of, one of your great loves, isn't it? Is your
the kiting.
The kite surfing. So tell us a bit about that. How you got into that?
I got into it in London, actually.
In London. Yeah, not much kite surfing in London, surely.
Not kite surfing, but there was decades ago, I was 35, somewhere there, And in Ali Pali, in a park, I had a little kite and my shoes. Right. And then on the grass, just being dragged. And
on the
grass.
Just on the grass. Wow.
So that was my introduction to it, Yeah. And then when we moved down to South Coast, to Brighton area, actually Worthing, that's where I discovered kite surfing. And so then from then actually built up, it's quite a long time, many years, And I did it on land, I did it on the snow. Actually Bulgaria, wow, what a place, Vitosha Mountain, wow, another spot. Anyway, so basically I love kiting. And so I came here, and one of the first things I was looking for is kiting. And lo and behold, there's a lagoon just like 10 minutes from my home. Perfect. I mean, it's paradise. Wind is a little gusty and whatever, like can be beachy and snobby, but it's 10 minutes from my home. So, almost not every day, but
I know how important it is to you, because I said, do you want to do a podcast on Friday? You went, whoa, can't do Friday. It's windy. I've been waiting for the wind for weeks. I'm sorry, you'll have to wait. But it looks spectacular, doesn't it? It looks like
feels even better.
Yeah. I was watching some videos of guys who kite surf, and they were jumping the length of like this tug that pulls container ships, into Cape Town it was in. And these guys were jumping the length of it, but not just that, they were jumping across the ship. Yeah. That looked spectacular.
It does look spectacular. For me, I have to say, if I was 20 or 25, I might go. It's called big air discipline.
It's called what, sorry?
Big air.
And what's that? That's the jumps?
Big air. Yeah, it's like high jumps,
Yeah.
Maybe I would go into it. But actually, I'm more drawn to what is called strapless freestyle.
What's that? Explain that.
It's like kiting has two types of boards. One is where you put 2 feet in, 20, and you can go left and right. And one is strapless. It's like a surfboard, basically, shorter surfboard, no straps.
So what happens if you go up? You'll leave the board behind?
No. This is the thing. So basically, with skill, so you actually kind of jump and the board stays.
Okay, you use
on the wind.
Centrifugal force.
Or you hold it, grab it. So for me, that kind of is. And then even with that, then you have a freestyle, which is like jumps and tricks and turns and spins with a board. And also you have a wave riding. So also strapless, but like surfing, but without, I won't say without a wave, but actually any wave with a kite. So you don't need to wait for the wave and catch it. You just ride to the wave and ride it. And then you go catch another wave and ride it. So there's like freestyle or wave riding. So amazing, love.
Yeah.
I kind of tried to get you into
it. Maybe the next time we do a show, we'll be talking about my learning experience. I'm a big unit though, so I'll really need a lot of wind to get me up on that board.
No, don't worry.
Yeah. But that looks great. I mean, and that's one of the great things about living here. There's so many things you can do like that here, and especially on the water.
This is why I like Lagos. So basically, like from the outside looking, so you have a airport, a sports airport, but for people that like that, you have that. You have a huge marina, so basically there's a lot of money. Then you have a wake park, if you like wakeboarding, so that's also fun. You know what it is?
Kind of.
Wakeboarding basically is like a board and a cable.
Oh, yeah. You pull around,
and like obstacles and whatnot. So you have that. You have kiting. You have surfing. All sorts of biking adventures, all sorts of off-road, motocross adventures. I mean, it's rich for outdoor extreme sports, actually. It's fantastic. So there's many reasons to like it, apart from good people, apart from amazing weather. I mean, winter is January.
I've had shorts and t-shirts on just to make a point of it, but like the Portuguese will look at you like when I've got shorts and t-shirts on, in winter, and they're like they're fully clothed, and they're like, aren't you cold? This is like summer for me. So I don't think I think I've had a t-shirt on all winter, and I'm kind of making a point of it. It's the weather is beginning to change. I think it was just on the cusp of it getting, because it's been raining for the past week, hasn't it? Only spitting, but but at home it's been -6, -5.
I mean, I do miss the snow. I have to say, I love snowboarding. I do.
I don't miss it. I don't miss the English weather at all.
I don't miss English weather. I miss snow. I miss the proper winters and -10 lots of snow and snowboarding and snow fights and that kind of stuff. I mean,
so you spent 25 years in the UK.
I can't believe it.
That's a long time.
I spent 17 in London.
17 in London.
And that was like from 23 to 40. And then when we decided to have a kid, then it was time to go. But those 17 years were really the most amazing time of my life.
Oh, great.
Because London, you can study anything you want to study on this planet in one city. And me being me, I had interest in magic, in alternative shit, in all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. It's all in one city. So for me, it was just like, why on earth would I ever want to leave? However, when I moved down to Brighton, it was, oh my God. Like in London, there was no outdoor sport. There was nothing. Basically it's like, you're in...
Landlocked, aren't you?
Yeah. So, well, not just landlocked, but like no potential, no kind of, So no kiting, no surfing, no like biking in nature, no downs, you know. So I loved it, but I can't believe I spent 7.
Yeah. Well, I kind of grew up going to London because my mum used to work there and she used to live there for periods. So I was going from a young age and all over London. Then I moved there myself in my early 20s. And I think I was there on and off for about 10 years. But it's a tough place to live. It's it's highly competitive.
Down,
and it's like, having friendships there takes a lot of effort because, going from one side of London to the other to visit a friend is like a military operation. It's not something you can just, an hour and a half. Yeah. So it is a place, I think, where you go to make cash. And if you make the cash, you get out. Or
I don't know.
Or if you're worn down by it,
I don't know. I think for young people, every young person should go to London or mega city for at least a few years because it really toughens you up. It teaches you so many life skills that I couldn't have learned elsewhere. It's super cosmopolitan. Okay, so
maybe a little bit too cosmopolitan now. I think that's maybe the problem there.
No, I don't know. I mean, for me, I didn't. It was a shock when I first arrived. Oh man, I was 23.
Yeah.
Grew up in Yugoslavia. It's just white.
Yeah.
Croatian white.
Yeah.
Okay, Yugoslavian white. And then short train journey, we arrived to Victoria.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. I was so green
what to expect.
And naive.
Yeah.
And I thought like it's English, like white English. Poof color. It was a shock. Literally, like, what the fuck am I? Like, I thought I was in England. This is like Indian, African, all sorts. It was like this at first. But very soon, like 6 months, I loved it. Like the color, the potential, the influx of different inputs into my brain, like neurons just firing like crazy. So I think for that reason, it's good to experience.
I think one of the things we connected on early when we first met was, it didn't take us long to probe each other to find out, our testing of the system, shall we say, at least the English system. I don't know whether we can do it here or in Croatia. It's just, one of the beauties of England is the common law system that we have, and our rights and our privileges and all of the things that make us English, and honor any English is our ability to exercise our rights within England through the law. It's a beautiful system. It's somewhat abused now. It's more of a faded history, and I think they're imposing more and more authoritarian measures that are against the English constitution, and as we saw in COVID. But even in COVID, as I could still say throughout the whole period, I'm exempt. I am exempt from all of this bullshit you're doing, so don't bother me.
You didn't have to wear a mask.
And they just said, okay, we'll go to those guys there who don't understand what I'm exempt means.
They don't have a right to ask you why you're medically exempt.
None of your business. None of your business. So when we came here, in Portugal, you weren't allowed to do that, right? So they don't have a common law system. They have a civil law system. So that's where we connected there. And it seems that you spent quite more time than we should in English courts, making arguments to judges, about our freedoms and about our rights. And, they at least give us the time of day. They at least listen to those arguments before saying, no, that's not going to work in my court today. So,
I mean, that was quite amazing, actually. I had this experience, for some reason, I can't remember what happened with it was traffic offense. That was years ago. I can't remember anymore. Basically, they were asking me to go to the court. Magistrate court. And I thought, okay, let's test it. By that time, I was already 2 or 3 years of, hundreds and hundreds of hours, studying this shit, And I thought, okay, let's test it. Let's see what's going to happen. So off I go. And at the beginning, Mark says, what's your name? I said, you can call me De'an. Where do you live? I live inside this body. When we were born, I don't remember. It will be hearsay, and a court of law that's not allowed. My mom and dad told me I was born on a day, but honestly, I don't know. Awkward silence for I let it be like 10, 20, 30 seconds, and I'm just sitting there. Clark is like, the 3 poor magistrates, they're like, he couldn't move. And so this was the first time I actually hardcore realized the power of what I've been studying for years.
Asking questions within.
No, not just that, but actually, all I had to do is stand my ground and state what I did, because it was true. It was to the law. Like, I don't know when I was born. This is true. How the fuck can I know? I was born. I have no idea.
Well, what they're asking you to do is confess against yourself.
Basically, they
is to snitch yourself up.
Well, yeah, exactly. They want to so company is incorporated.
Yeah.
Date, address, and the name. Those three things you need to have as a company. That's the incorporation. So as we found out through the study of the common law, is that every name, like Mr. De'an Matuka, is a company, which needs to have a date of incorporation, a place of business or where you live, and the name. If you don't give them that, they cannot apply this legislative law. They cannot, because there's nobody. I have to, as a flesh and blood individual, have to assume or kind of play a role and become this identity in order for them to actually charge the identity, the Mr. De'an Matuka, the name, not me, flesh and blood individual. But if I disassociate like I did in the court of law, what's your name? You can call me De'an. That's not Mr. De'an Matuka. When we were born, I don't know. Did you live? I live inside this body. They're all truths, but they couldn't pin me down. They couldn't start the proceedings because nobody identified with the straw man. So that was the first time when I actually realized the power of it, that actually it works. Yeah. Before it was like theoretical, I was studying, I was like, but I didn't really know until I tested it.
So I mean, I've been using those techniques successfully for 10 years or more. And, you know, it really does work. When you absorb it internally and when it's not like, okay, when you can just actually live your sovereignty, if you truly understand it and you truly believe it, then they know that you are the real deal, right? I am exempt. It's like a Jedi mind trick, right? It's like being Obi-Wan Kenobi to stormtroopers and they just go, oh, okay. It really is
I had fantastic time with companies, like power companies, telephone companies, banks.
Yeah.
I got so much money from them.
Yeah.
Because what we found out, like you don't pay you don't have enough money on the account and the bank sends you a letter saying because you didn't have enough money, a £30 penalty for breaking this law. And then you go over a limit and then, there's like a £20 penalty for that. And that was happening to me for the whole duration before I realized what's going on. Once I learned, it was like, okay, let's find out. Now, on the phone to the bank, and they cut into my word. So I keep talking and they cut me in. I say, you just made a mistake. That's going to cost you £20. And so, so then I started issuing legal notices to them, asking them for money for breaking all this time. When, for example, they would say, telephone companies, yes, dear Mr. Matuka, we know you have a problem. We're going to deal with it within 2 weeks. Great. 2 weeks and 1 hour. You didn't do it. Great.
Fee schedule. Yeah. There we go.
This much money for me going to the post office. This much money for the actual stamps. This much money for the actual.
And why not?
Years. Exactly.
Yeah.
And they paid.
Yeah.
And this was the thing that was like, oh my God, without a word, because they know it's a contract law.
Well, they're trying to palm off liability to you because you don't know. And you're just accepting it and thinking,
What angers me the most is that they don't teach us.
Of course not.
Can't. I mean, if they just.
Yeah, but they don't want us to know that kind of level of power because they wouldn't be able to enforce the illusion of authority. And that's what we're up against. What is this idea that, the state has the authority when the reality is that we do. We're the ones that grant all of the power to these people.
You know that they cannot actually imprison, and it's my will to go to prison.
Voluntary.
It's an invitation.
Yeah, voluntary, yeah.
But they don't tell us this. And this is what really got me more and more. This is why I live the lifestyle that I do. I don't trust you, the governments. You're not on my side.
No.
And I can see it because they don't tell me this. They don't tell me a business. I'm a company. They don't tell me that England is a company. The America is a company. They don't tell us these things. Like, be fucking honest with us. But
it's a tax farm, isn't it? It's like they're milking us of our labor and our creativity and the things that we
Mortgage
produce.
Is another one. It's a fraud.
Death pledge.
You know how I actually got off? I had 2 or 3 credit cards for years, and I was paying them like a donkey, man. I had only 8,000 pounds at the time, and I was paying Julie until I found out. Fuckers.
Yeah.
Okay. One letter notice to.
That was the end of that.
Yeah.
You don't even need the letters.
I just did. Yeah, I did because I want to play it fair. And I said, dear whatever, Mr. Bank, it appears that I owe you this money. I'm willing to pay every single penny back if you can just prove to me that you actually lend me the money, all I want to see is from your account transaction to my account. That's all I want to see. Not heard from you again. Can't.
Yeah, it's as easy as that.
They didn't lend me money. They created it out of thin air. It's fraud. My signature is actually what creates the money.
Yeah.
It's my stupid ego mind that will agree to, like a slave, I agree to pay you with interest for God knows how many fuckers. I mean,
but it's great. But when you first learn, when you have the red pill, that is the red pill. That is the red pill where your entire consciousness changes and you go, what? Is that really it? So you go through this like kind of like it's like a trauma in a sense as you're waking up, and it's like you're reinventing yourself, or you're rediscovering actually who you are. And there's this period where it can be a little bit difficult for people as they become aware of the actual scam of what's going on.
It's scary because you have to face the
when
you realize just and there is no action behind it.
Yeah.
It's like a dog that just barks but doesn't bite.
That's right.
That's it.
Yeah.
But after that, so then we're gonna lead into my life after I realized that, and I left UK, and then I thought, okay, so now we have Europe. So now we have a tax system which is actually not global, but it's Europe-based. There's many countries, and those countries do not agree on how they run the taxes. So let's find out. And so my search began. And so I thought, okay, so what I want to do is I want to pay minimum taxes. Actually, what I found out also through my search in UK, that it's illegal, it's unconstitutional for any citizen to pay taxes if that money is supporting the war. Because effectively war is illegal. Of course, killing people is illegal. And anybody who is supporting it is criminal activity. So it's illegal for me to pay taxes in the UK. So one of the things I did also is to write to HMRC, and said, dear people, I'm withholding paying my taxes. The money is in escrow account. As soon as you prove to me that not one penny of my money is used for military purpose, I'll give you the money. Didn't hear anything from them.
Of course not.
Anyway, that's a different story. So I was back in Europe. I left UK. Actually, I left at the Brexit, man. Beginning of 2017, energy started dwindling. It was like beginning of the heyday was finished and the UK was going to the shithole. So I left. And so then I looked around and I thought, okay, so what country in Europe has really good law if I wanted to have a company and taxes and stuff like that? I was digital nomad at the time. So I realized that unless I spend 6 months or more, 180 days a year in any particular country, I don't pay taxes because you're legally not asked to do that. So all I have to do is travel.
It's tripartite system, isn't it? 3 months at a time, place for place.
Yep. Yeah. Estonia, actually for me, was even less. Weeks, but it's okay. Estonia, however, turned out to be a fantastic country offering e-citizenship,
E-Residency. I think they're the only country in the world that offer E-Residency. I think so because they kind of, I think they're the first country to like digitize that whole stuff where.
Yes. Do you know why?
Yeah.
Because Estonia was actually within Russia, and Estonia is tiny. I mean, the whole place is, I think, one or two million people.
The Baltics, isn't it? The Latvia, Estonia,
Lithuania.
Yeah.
But basically, they realized that Russia could take them over again like this. And so Estonia is actually have a lot of respect for them because they are the only country that I know is so small, and yet they managed to meet the traditional witchy and pagan self and hyper-modern digital computer self. So you have things like you would have an organic restaurant in a traditional factory type, like
old Soviets, like old Soviets.
Yeah. And hyper modern. Like you have a screen on the wall and you order your organic food on the screen.
Well, Georgia's a little bit like that because it's the same thing. You have like 3 levels of architecture there. You have the old Georgia, which is maybe, going back 500-600 years. Then you have the Soviet layer that went on top, the Soviet architecture, the brutalism. And then on top of that, now you have the hyper modern. So I guess maybe that's similar.
Yeah. Anyway, so basically I realized that I could become an e-resident in Estonia. I could have a company there, run, I just pay whatever, 100 euros a month or whatever for a forming company to run my business, management, finances, taxes, everything. Taxes is an interesting point because as an e-resident, Estonian companies, for people like me, we don't pay tax in Estonia. There's no company tax. So all the profit, there is no tax.
That's because your income is not generated in Estonia.
That's right. That's right. As long as you do your business
outside of Estonia.
And this is it. So basically, there's zero company tax. And because I was a digital nomad, there was zero
personal tax. Yeah.
So thank you very much. I'll take that. So I've been running that for some time. and then I thought, okay, so then by mistake, my mistake actually, I inherited a house in Croatia when my mom died. And what I didn't realize when I started renting it, I was so kind of law-abiding citizen. And so I went and said, I'm going to rent my house and I want to pay some tax on whatever I earn. So just to be clear, and I don't want a headache. I'm not in Croatia anyway, so I just don't want to have a problem. And so, but they put me inside the Croatian tax system by default. And I thought, oh, fuck. So suddenly, although I have a Croatian...
personally?
Yeah. Although I have a company in Estonia, now I would have to pay tax in Croatia because I'm tax resident, even though I'm not there. And I thought, that doesn't work.
It's because you've got a permanent residence there, isn't it? It's
because I had a house.
Yeah.
And they thought that I lived there, which I didn't. But the system thought I was there. And so I thought, how can I get around that? So Hops, Bulgaria, fantastic system. So 10% tax for everything. Income tax, company tax, 10%, dividends, everything 10%. I thought that's fair. At 10% I can do. But so then basically I said to Croatian tax people, I'm moving to Bulgaria. I went to Sofia. I spent 3 days. I paid a lawyer 300 euros and they took me by the hand into the tax office, I became the tax resident within a few days. I never went back again, actually. But that meant that actually I disjointed myself
from Croatian system. Yeah.
So then they actually fixed the problem. So I ran that for a few years as well. So,
but it's kind of changed a little bit now because you're in Portugal and I'm the same. You got the NHR here, the non-habitual residency visa. So I've just made it, hopefully. Because they've ended the NHR now, because they're bringing it to it's really really interesting field. It's what we do at Sovereign Consult, which is the consultancy that I've set up at the moment, is doing this kind of stuff for people. But
that's fantastic.
We'll move on to the last thing I wanted to chat to you about, which is what you're currently doing, which is dearmouring. We'll talk about that in a second, but it's in the same way that all of the years I spent understanding the law and going in and out of court actually came to my own benefit when I was able to win a court case in the High Court myself, because I was able to run it and I understood what was going on, and also about the things that we're talking about now. But you've also just had a success in court that you have been fighting to have the right to use the name Dearmouring, which is what your main line of work is. Tell us what happened and hit me with it.
Yeah, okay. So Dearmouring as a concept was actually, it's as old as humanity. Every single religious system will have a mystical side to it. And at some point, Dearmouring broadly can be described as anything that stands between me and God, me and full openness and enlightenment, mastery, whatever you want to call it, is armor. It's limiting belief systems, traumas, fears, phobias, anything that stops me being fully is armor. So,
well, armor's to defend, isn't it? Is it defend the body from attack?
That's in a physical sense. Yes. Yeah. In an emotional and dynamic sense, is, let's say I'm a child and you're my father and you start beating me up because you're more powerful and bigger than me. I cannot defend, and my hurt little self has to protect myself, otherwise I go crazy.
So it's emotional armor.
Yeah. And so I close myself and I give you the finger and so I stay safe on the inside while my physical self, for example, is being beaten up, bullied, or raped, a number. So it's good. It's created there for a reason. And then also until I'm old enough, strong enough to face you and to say, look, what you did was disgusting. Don't fucking ever even think about it because I'll poke your eye. I can only say it when I'm grown up. So armor is, in a sense, is good there to protect them. But it's like an old system that becomes subconscious and it just runs on automatic and it will run until I die, which is limiting me because right now we are equal. There is no reason for me to be afraid of it. So I could actually open that part up, take a breath of fresh air and release this energy that I'm kind of using to stay pent up. So this is the essence of the armor in a very short, and there's much, much more to it. But basically, so there is nothing new about it. And then in 20s, 30s with Wilhelm Reich, he developed a system, and he actually coined the term armoring. So he called it body armor, or in Germany it was Panzer as armor. So he came up with the term, the armor. Now, 1999, a Swiss woman, I don't want to name her name because it's not about that, she registered a trademark for the armoring, and they gave it to her because they didn't know what it was. It was like vaguely unknown, this like whatever word the armoring. So she became an owner. She had a trademark on word the armoring, which is okay. But then what she did, and that wasn't cool, she started hunting us one by one through her lawyers, legally demanding that we stop using the word the armoring because she owns it. So she wanted to monopolize the market, if you like. I don't know why she did. One personal story. But what that meant for us, because by that point, that was like about 4 years ago. So there was hundreds and hundreds of us in Europe professionally doing this job. We had no idea that somebody owned that word. It's like massage. The armoring is like massage. So imagine if somebody has right to the word massage and now nobody can use it. It's ridiculous. So, but that's what was going on. And so when she started coming after her students, few of them told me from Germany, from Switzerland, Austria. They told me, look, Dan, this woman from Switzerland, we don't know who she is, but I just received a letter from the lawyer saying you have to stop using the word, you have to take your website down, you have to basically like, what do I do? And so I found who she was and I called her and we had a conversation. It was actually nice. She kind of justified herself by saying, look, I want to protect the armoring. I've been doing it for a long time and I want it to stay pure. I agree.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And I'm the same. I said, look, we're on the same side. This is why we started the first school. The armoring training was the first school in Europe, actually, in the world, teaching the armoring. And the reason we started it is because there were so many people abusing it. And so many people were abusing the power within the sessions. People were being re-traumatized, clients. Instead of being open, they were being re-traumatized because people were taking a piss. So the reason we started it was to educate people and to start creating this safe and responsible way of the armoring. So I agreed with her. And like within the conversation, I thought we found a common tongue. And from that point, I thought everything is sorted. We understand each other. We support each other and it's going to be cool. About a year later, personally, I received 15-page letter from my lawyers, like full on, like stop doing it, take your websites down within 2 weeks. If you don't do it, I'll take you to court.
Is this after your conversation with her? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you thought it was all cool, but
yeah, about a year or two after, you know. So that wasn't, I'm not taking. So then we got together, we did masses of research proving basically that she did not, that the reason EUIPO, the European Commission for Trademark Law, granted the right to the armoring is because they thought she came up with a word, the armoring. Yeah. So then we did tons of research. There was a team of us, actually, thank you all who were on the team. They really did an amazing job. It took about a couple of years to actually prove that Wilhelm Reich came up with the term decade before this woman was born. So then we did that, and then we employed super expensive and professional trademark firm from Germany, and then took it to court
in Germany.
No, this was EUIPO, directly to EUIPO. EUIPO is European-based system. And the lawyers were from Germany, only because we had a friend who knew this company, also a lawyer friend. So that, as it happened, but they were super. And so they helped us prepare the case. And then they took about 2 years to go to EUIPO and to present a case and to say, look, this woman is claiming this, but actual reality is this. We ask you to remove the trademark so that the word the armoring can be used like a word massa in Europe. And so in October last year, we actually won. So now...
Congratulations. That must have been a good feeling. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. So that everybody can now actually talk about it, advertise it, work with it.
So you represented the whole dearmoring industry or field, but and basically made it available for everyone to use.
Spearheaded,
yeah. And what was the position of the Swiss lady? Did she?
I don't know.
No, she's not going.
No, I sent her an email before. Basically, when I received the email from the letter from her lawyers originally, I wrote her an email and I said, "Look, like this is a mistake. Don't come after me. Like." No, but like
I know. Yeah, another feeling. You're picking on the wrong person this time.
But also like it's not okay. Like, what are you doing? Like you clearly need the armoring. She must be very armored around. But it's like mine. It's like it's not yours, lady. It's like you just want off. Like release, relax. Like it's us. It's not you.
So what does that mean for the armoring in general? Because as everyone been holding back until this has been resolved.
Like all these people, practitioners that were in fear, like, do we need to start? Like, imagine a scenario where you can't use word massage, and each massage therapist, which there are hundreds and thousands, whatever of us in Europe, we all have to come up with a different word describing the same job. It's impossible. It's like a mindfuck. How? It would be just like, it would be possible, but it would take decades before, or Reiki, or like, it's not practical. So it was causing this like dumping effect on the whole field. They were all like still doing it under fear of, now they're going to be prosecuted, now they're going to have to, it's not really. And then we're talking about Austria, Germany, Switzerland. Unfortunately, all those three countries are quite law-abiding citizens, and Holland. They're not Balkan, they don't give this to the system, they cannot say yes. So for them, it was really hard to actually, So for me, it was easier to spearhead it because, first of all, I knew she was wrong. Not wrong, but that was not right. It's not right. Legally, it's just like, it's bullshit. And also, I had the energy and courage to do it.
The experience from going to court,
and maybe this as well. But
well, I think that whole experience of understanding our rights and our freedoms and our sovereignty, our authority, that once you've become aware of that, then you're quite able and willing to fight for those rights. Which is what you've done there with the trademark struggle. So now basically what it means is that everybody, we can go Dearmouring, educate. So it's amazing. It's like right now thank you for this opportunity to talk about it. Cool.
Because it just basically means that we can all openly talk about it, openly promote it, openly invite other people to start training, to become practitioners, because it's an amazing system. It's super efficient. It's super good for everybody, So that's
cool. Congratulations. I'm going to bring this to a close. Now, what does the future hold for you at the moment? How long are you going to be in Portugal? What are you doing next with Dearmouring? What's coming up for De'an?
What's cooking currently is I'm a daddy. I'm a single daddy. So I'm staying in Portugal until my girl, she's now turning 14. So until she grows up, we're going to be in Portugal. Professionally, I'm going to carry on doing this promotion for Dearmouring. My actual interest is to promote all the schools, not just mine, just because Dearmouring is seriously amazing. So now my effort goes into promoting and educating the public about what it is. It's going to be a lot of kiting, which I hope to see you on one day as well. And working on myself like I normally do. So this is my like full-time job, like being on a path and
fantastic. Really great to meet you. And thanks so much for coming in. If people want to find you, if people want to, continue learning about the things you've talked about or Dearmouring, where can they find you?
They can find me in two places. They can find me in dearmouringarts.com. We're going to put a link in the description, in the comments. And they can find me lovecore.me. But again, we're going to put a link.
Yeah, that'll all be below. Don't worry about that.
That's it. And anybody who wants to chat, who wants to get in touch.
You do some YouTube yourself. You've got your own channel, haven't you?
I do,
so people can catch up. There's some good videos there.
Yeah, there's hours and hours of stuff. Dearmouring, channel's called Dearmouring. We're also going to put a link.
Well, De'an, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Yeah, cool. Until the next one, thanks a lot.
Ciao.